Hi, welcome to Lasers, Dragons, and Keyboards. I'm Aaron.
I'm Liberty.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are. So that's who I woke up next to in this morning. So,
Oh
so
my.
everybody on the show knows that we're married. So, uh, so today on the show we have Lauren H. Brandenburg. She drinks hot cocoa every single morning and unashamedly has an alarm clock with bunny ears. Oh my gosh, that's funny. She's a multi-award winning author, including an American Christian fiction writers Carol Award winner. Realm Award and Selah, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, award finalist, as well as a finalist for the People's Book Prize in the UK.
That's a lot of
Lauren
awards.
writes to give young readers and grown-ups epic stories and cozy tales of fantastically lovely places to dwell. But most importantly, she's a wife and mother who loves our Heavenly Father so very much. She currently lives with her husband Jamie and their children in a lovely little town just south of Nashville, Tennessee. Returning guest, Lauren H. Brandenburg. Hey, Lauren, how's it going?
Hi. Fantastic. It's such a good day. I'm coming to you all from Mississippi today. So, visiting my daughter, and yes, I'm away from home.
Well, we've had that happen for our gang too. So
Oh yeah.
sounds like Aaron's going to be recording from Florida pretty soon.
For one show at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun, really fun.
So it's been a minute since we've had you on. So Lauren, why don't you tell us what is your name, what is your quest, and what is your favorite color?
Oh, love that. Okay, so Lauren Brandenburg. I write as Lauren H. Brandenburg, one of those kind of things. When I first started writing, I needed to come up with an author name, and there was a lot of Lauren Brandenburgs out there, so I had to drop in my middle initial to kind of set me apart. So Lauren H.
I
Brandenburg.
I would not have
My quest,
suspected
yeah.
that there would be that many Lauren Brandenburgs.
Oh yeah, like soccer players and gymnasts and with so
Hmm.
many younger people being on social media, like they're all over the place. So I know, I was kind of surprised that too. But yeah, my quest definitely first and foremost is to be a wife and a mom. Like I love being a wife and a mother. I will put everything aside to do that. Um, and then, that we're coming up on the empty nest phase. So my mothering days are shifting. I'll still be the mom, but that's shifting. And then, yeah, but I want to write too. Like I have so many stories. I kind of live in two different worlds when I write. That's why, I do say that I'm writing lovely places to dwell. My middle grade books are underground worlds. And while they're a little bit darker and more adventurous than my grown-up books, which are in like these lovely little quirky towns, yeah, I kind of live in those two worlds. So lots of tales and lovely
Well,
places.
the underground
Oh,
worlds would be a
and
little darker, yes, with no sunlight.
yeah, well, surprisingly, like they're lit by this glowing water. Like when I had to figure out how to bring light to the underground, I'm like, how do you do that? And so I use the water, and the water rises in this like
Cool.
form of mist. And as it rises in the morning, you have, morning, and then it sets at night, and it's nice. So yeah, I solved the light problem in the underground without bringing electricity, which is good.
Nice.
Sweet.
So yeah, and
Uh,
you asked my favorite color. Oh, okay. So don't think I'm super morbid, but I really do like black. Like I find myself buying black clothes. My office at home is actually painted black. Like if you've ever seen pictures online, I just like black.
All
And
right, so
yeah.
technically black isn't a color, so you're gonna have to try
Oh, that's right.
again.
Okay. Okay. All
Aaron.
right. You're right. You're right.
Well,
You're right. That's like no, you're right. It's like the absence of color. Okay, so I'm gonna do this but it like literally just popped into my brain.
and
But
you
then
can't
now
say
I'm gonna
white
feel
because
like a
that's all of them.
I know. Okay, so I would say okay. So literally the first color that popped in my mind, I was like, oh great, now I'm gonna sound like a bruise because blue. I like shades of blue, and but then I'm like black and blue. I'm a
yep.
bruise.
Yeah,
So
blue's a nice, happy, calming color.
yeah, I like blue. I do.
So uh, you can have the nickname Lauren the Bruised. I don't know.
That's like my
So
Viking name.
yep. Uh, so you mentioned that you write both middle grade, and those are the books of the gardener, um,
Yes.
and like adult magical realism.
Hmm?
What is your latest project with everything you have going on? Like, what's coming
Oh,
up?
my head is so full. So I'm actually working on my 10th middle grade, which so the books of the Gardener are 3 trilogies. You've got the books of Boone, the books of Lewis, and the books of Orlo. And I'm writing the 10th book, which is just the book of the Gardener, and I'm bringing all 3 characters together. So all 3 characters from their different underground
cool.
worlds. Yeah, kind of this Marvel moment. I've been building up to it for like 13 years.
That's neat.
So I'm pretty excited. Yeah, so it's been really a fun project. However, I've had to go back to my very first series, the Boone the Ordinary, which I wrote like 13, 14 years ago. And oh my goodness, I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Like, I'm like, the writing is bad, the dialogue is bad. And I'm like, don't be hard on yourself, because for some reason it's my reader's favorite. I'm like, oh, really? That one? Yeah. So I'm working on the Book of the Gardener, book 10, hoping to have it out by December. I also have, I have this YA that's been kind of stirring in my brain too. So I think I might start on it in June-ish, once I get the Book of the Gardener complete. Yeah, that's a whole new thing for me too. I don't know where that's going to fit in my realm of stories. So
I mean, everybody has their own thing, and I don't seem to stick to one particular genre. So
yeah, I'm a
if your
genre
readers,
hopper.
if your readers like your writing, they'll follow you, or you'll find new readers.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking too, especially with like considering YA. I've got the middle grade, and then I have the grown up. Like, I need like a transition. Like, I need, as my readers are growing out of my middle grades, let's give them something else. So
Mhm.
that's kind of my thought.
Makes sense.
Yep.
We'll see if they still like me when I'm done.
Do the whole Harry Potter grow with your readers thing, then yeah.
Yeah, which terribly wrong. Like, right? Like, because you've got 8-year-olds reading the entire series in like 5 minutes.
If they can read that fast, I need to take a couple of lessons, I think.
Yeah. They don't read that fast,
but
I've learned those little people read a lot, and they read fast.
They don't have adult responsibilities. That's why.
Okay,
Stupid
yes,
day
there
job.
is that.
Yeah, I know when I was that age, I could read, a couple books in a day too, but
That's
Yeah,
true.
I was looking at my Goodreads profile at the end and at the beginning of the year / into last year. I think I read like 60 some books last year, and I'm going, man, high school me would have called that rookie numbers.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know I didn't even read anywhere near close to that. So
Mhm. I remember going to the
That's the
library
highest
and
I've
just
read in a
renting,
couple
or not
of
renting,
years.
but checking out stacks.
Mhm.
And like you had like 2 weeks to read them all. So I think that was part of it too, is the
Yeah.
library system kind of put you on a timeline and got to read them all.
Yep.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like during the summers, I'd go to the library and I'd just work my way through the shelves in the youth thing. And
Yeah.
more than once, by the end of the summer, I had read every book that I hadn't read the year before.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's those trusted favorites that you just went back for every time.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Aaron?
Yeah, the trusted favorites. I haven't read any of the Hardy Boys books in several years. I should probably read those. Wait, we're doing a show. That's right.
Okay. I did do that. I actually went back and bought a copy of a book that I had read. It was called The Last of the Really Great Wang Doodles. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
So
no.
it was written, Julie, I don't think she was Julie Edwards by then, but Julie Andrews, Mary Poppins, wrote this middle grade book. And I was fascinated with it. I checked it out over and over and over again. And then by the time I became an adult and read it, I'm like, what is this? Is weird. Like, it's so like, it was so strange. So not my favorite anymore. It was great while it lasted.
Interesting. So.
All right. That's going to be in the show notes. Or Wang Doodles. Yeah.
Yes, The Last of the Really Great Wang Doodles.
Yeah, I was just going to ask for that title. That was by Julie Andrews, you said. Huh?
Yeah,
I did not know she
think
ever
it
wrote
was
anything. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm looking this up on Amazon right now.
Yeah, it starts off really great, like this whole adventure, this whole kind of going to this other world. It's very much in that whole Madeline L'Engle phase of writing. So you kind of get that feel like, okay, this is where authors were at that time. And then there's just something that gets really strange about the whole thing at the end. Like, it's just like she shifts. And I'm like, so I'm sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background.
No worries.
I travel with our dog.
Yeah, I have both of my pets too. Yeah, I've got both of my animals in here, but they're napping, so they know if they're in here.
Until the doorbell rings.
We don't have a doorbell. So,
Note to
uh,
self: drive out there, install one at night, drive back. That'd be a all weekend project.
Yes. So,
Okay.
Aaron, next question.
I don't know. We kind of invented one on the spot there, but let's see.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, kind of got me sidetracked about favorite books now.
Wang Doodle.
Oh, here's a fun one. It's kind of sort of related. When did you write your first book, and how old were you?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I actually wrote, and I have been looking everywhere. I have my mom searching for this. I wrote my first book when I was in the 4th grade, and it was called Tennis Shoes. And
Oh,
it was about a pair of tennis shoes that lost their socks in the dryer, and they're going on a
Oh, they're never
search
coming back.
for, I don't know, but they find them. I can't remember where. I don't, but
They
like
find the
I took
socks. You
this
know it's
class.
fiction.
It was bound and everything. We went through this whole
oh
publishing
wow.
process where we
Oh,
had to like,
neat.
I mean, it was like cloth bound. Like we made the cover out of cardboard, and then
Yeah.
I mean, it was really a fascinating process. There was lots of rubber cement involved, so that's why I'm
I
the
would
way I am
imagine.
today. Like, woo!
Ah, that
But
explains it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yep.
the rubber cement. So yeah, so that was my very, very first book that I ever published.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's neat.
Yeah.
thanks.
okay. So, I had a question. Where did it go?
Have you looked in the
Over there.
couch?
I don't remember where it
The
went.
dryer.
So
It's in the dryer
probably,
In the lint
probably.
trap,
with
yep.
the socks.
So with your upcoming book, do you have a favorite scene or character that
Yes, next question.
Oh.
and who is it?
Okay. Okay. So it's hard because I've got like three main characters which are like my children at this point. I've got
Mhm.
three other members
Oh
of my
yeah.
family. And so, forever I would have said Boone was my favorite. Like I
Mhm.
just because he was my first, and I don't know, I just really liked him. I liked his journey.
Mhm.
And then there was Orlo, who was like I kind of went into the steampunk world, like I created a steampunk underground world, and I liked Orlo. He was a fidgeter, like there were so many things about his character that reminded me of my son. Um, and then I wrote Lewis. So there's Lewis. But as I'm going back and I'm revisiting all these old characters, it's actually Lewis, like the one that I just like finished her trilogy, published the last of her trilogy in November. Um, I don't know. There's just something really endearing about her, something simple, and I like where she's going. Like her whole story was literally about writing your own story, and so the point that she has to come to, and she has a very um, unique ability to see the enemy. Like she can see the whispering shadows that are around us, and she can see deception, and so
Oh wow.
yeah, and
That's
she
impressive.
also has a little touch of OCD, like clinical like OCD, which has been interesting too to watch her and follow her. And yeah, that's a hard thing for people with OCD to get over. Like sometimes it's kind of maddening. And so
Yes.
just to walk with her as I've seen that in my with people in my own family, like just to walk her through that is yeah, it's been tough, but at the same
Mhm.
time encouraging. And I don't know, she's my favorite right now. And I have a really bad tendency of creating characters, just like I don't know about you all, but like I'll be writing and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, and look at this person. They just showed up. I love them.
Yes.
That
Yes.
may happen.
I have
Like,
no
where did
idea
they
what
come
you
from?
mean.
I
There's a
know. I totally did that the other day. I'm like, who is this random guy? But I kind of like him.
Yeah, I know Josh has a tendency to do that with D&D characters. So he's got
Oh
Yeah.
my word,
a
yes.
laundry list, and every time I turn around, I'm hearing, "Yeah, I'm plotting characters." So,
Yeah.
what do you think of this idea, Liberty? I'm like, seriously, another one? What happened to the last one?
Well,
They
you
come
know,
on, we just get all attached to them, then they walk off, and a new person comes in. It's like, stick with one person!
well, so the project that I'm working on right now, the main character was based on a character that was just supposed to be on screen briefly, in the first novel I ever finished writing, and it's just like,
Yeah. That's how Orlo came about. Orlo kind of made this like little bitty like he was a deliverer, so he like has this
Yeah.
big thing he drives called a cardigan, and he like pulls into Boone's world at the very end of the trilogy. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, he kind of needs his story. So, and then that
Yeah.
birthed Orlo, which same thing with Lewis. She kind of is this tragic character in the second book of Orlo, and I'm like, okay, I got to tell this girl's story because people want to know. So,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
things we do to ourselves, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you said so. You said that you'd been working on this 10th book, and it's been 10, 12 years since you wrote the
Mhm.
first one in the series. What's it been like for you, like emotionally going back to those first stories to review everything?
Um, It's a lot of mixed emotions because there's times that I'm like, "Oh, I'm not as bad as I thought I was," just to be honest. And then there's times when
Yep,
I'm like,
yep.
"This is horrific." Like I'm almost embarrassed. Like, and I don't know how you all feel as writers too, but there's times I'm like, "I'm really embarrassed." Like,
Mhm,
this is bad because I indie published all my middle grades, and I definitely have grown a lot as a writer, and I've, taken lots of classes and made so many mistakes in that first book, which I've talked about quite a bit, just over the years at different conferences and whatnot. But so yeah, so going back and not wanting to change things has been really hard because I'm
So that's
like,
the fun
okay,
thing
we
about
can
indie
delete that
writers,
tag,
second
and
edition.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I
then
thought about that.
you got to balance out about, if I fix that, never get anything new done.
Yes, and when your readers are small, like my readers are anywhere between like 8 and 12, and like so that first book is typically, I mean, it's my bestseller. It launches everybody into the series. Like when I'm watching my sales and I see them buying book two, book three, and then the rest of I'm like, oh, they actually like the first one, and I feel like it's my worst. So
mhm,
I have to be encouraged like that, and I do believe in like spiritual warfare. So I do think that that's kind of this voice of the enemy
mhm,
being like, you're, this is not good. This is bad,
mhm,
instead of being like, hey, look how much you've grown. So
mhm,
that's on the writer side of it, that's where I've kind of struggled and
mhm,
battled, but then also celebrated that, like, oh, I did keep going on, look what this is.
mhm.
But going back into Boone's world has been really, really cool too. Because
Yeah.
when you go back and you're like, where did that come from? How did I do that? And I'm so excited for him to see this. And yeah, and then for me to go back and see how it all built up. Like
Mhm,
because I'm back reading. I'm reading the first one right now, and then I'm going to read the other two, and then yeah. So we'll see.
mhm. Yeah, it's interesting to go back and read your older stuff. That's for sure.
Oh, I don't think I
Mhm.
advise it unless you have to.
Honestly, I'm in the middle of trying to get back into my series, so I'm gonna have to reread everything or at least skim for
Yes,
details and stuff. And it's like I'm almost ready to say I don't want to do this because
I
I've
know.
changed so much as a
Yes,
person, over the last
right.
10 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
So yeah, and
On the
that's a
yes.
other
scary thing.
on the other hand, I like reading through my book one before I write book two, and then book two before
Mhm,
I write book three. And the reason I do that is the same reason as I approach it the same way I do reading stuff. Like for example, when Aragon was coming out, you'd read book
Mm,
one, then book two came out, you read book one, then you read book two, book three comes out, you read
right,
book one, then
right.
book two, then book three, and then
Yeah.
you remind yourself of all the different details. Because I've seen
Yeah.
mhm.
series books where the author is, hey, wait a minute, in book one they said this, but in book two they said this, and it's
I
like,
know.
well,
Yes.
if you read it in book one, then you still all that
Mhm.
keeps fresh in your mind. But yeah,
This is true.
you are
Yes.
also reminded of some of those like, ooh,
Ugh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
and
kind
I
of
think
tempted
that
to go
writing
back and
this.
fix that now.
Oh, I know. Yes. But I think writing this 10th book is also allowing me to go back and answer some questions. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like even as I'm going back through, I'm like, you know what? I'm not sure I ever really fully fleshed that out. So, yeah, I think I'm going to, like, I'll be able to answer some questions for my readers and kind of connect some dots. So I'm kind of excited about that. Like,
That's
I'm
always
hoping they'll be
nice,
like,
yeah.
oh, that's why this happened. And oh, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So
It
Thanks.
does.
Hmm.
Uh, so you had mentioned that, well, in your bio, that you do a bunch of other stuff.
Mhm.
What things outside of writing like keep you sane or allow you to refill your creative well, as it were?
What is this saying of which you
Um,
speak?
yeah, when I was like, hold on now. So in a moment, like I would say like short term going on a walk is really good for me. Like I'll get completely overwhelmed,
Yeah.
just, whether questioning or uh, a bit of a pause where I can't figure out what to do, and I'll just kind of drop everything, go on a walk, and sometimes I'll take a pen and I write on my hand. My husband, now we have
Oh.
notes on our phone, but I still there's just something about writing on my hand,
There's
and I
bad.
do it in church too.
There's
My husband's like, "You've got paper. Why are you writing on your hand?" But and I do it like if you're ever at Realm Makers, like you'll
Yeah.
see me like someone will say
It's
something, I'll be
true.
like, and I just do it because then I get to go back. I can see what's on my hand. I know. And it will make
But
it into a book or it'll make it into my notes at some point in time on my phone. But by writing it on my hand, there's just something that it allows me to revisit it. It allows me to write it down again. I don't forget about it. So that's kind of one of my things is going on a walk. And our family likes to travel a lot. Like that's something that my husband and I like to do. We've kind of
yeah.
ingrained it with our kids. So traveling is good for me. It inspires me. In fact, the YA that's kind of stewing in my brain was inspired by a trip to Aruba that I took last January.
Oh.
And then in December,
Nice.
we were in the British Virgin Islands, and it was just, it
You're
kept
making me
like
jealous now.
building and growing. And so, yeah, that's just, and my husband is, he's an industrial real estate. I'm sorry, I think I may have family arriving. Um, so my husband's in industrial real estate, so he really has to recharge, and to do that he has to get away as well. So luckily both of us
Okay.
have things that we can do. Like I can write while I travel and he can work while he travels, but it allows us just to get away and do it. And then
Yeah.
so yeah.
Very
Yeah,
So
the
cool.
whole
yes,
the whole
traveling
walking
and
thing only works like 4 months out of the year where I'm at.
yeah, I have taken a break from walking. Nashville has been unusually cold and snowy, so really not for
Yeah.
me.
Although it's supposed to be 50 here tomorrow, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna go for a hike.
Ah,
Yeah,
50.
it's actually
That'd be nice.
supposed to be 50 here today, and I'm like, do I wear my long johns under my jeans? Like, where are we weather-wise? Like, I
That's
don't
not
know.
long. I mean, for me as a native Kansan, that's not long john weather, but I can see if you're from a little further south how it might be.
Yeah,
Oh, we're going to
well,
get a
we were
heat wave
married.
too. It's supposed to be 34 here tomorrow.
Woo.
Ooh, I know.
See,
Break out the
uh,
swim trunks.
meanwhile,
Almost.
it's gonna be like 20 here today. I'm gonna walk out to check the mail when there's snow on the ground in my sandals and t-shirt
You
and sweats.
weirdo. Yeah,
So
I was reading
No, not
something
gonna do that.
about people in Florida and oh, it's only supposed to be 80, so it's way too cold to go swimming. I'm like, okay.
what?
That's
So
about where it's comfortable to go swimming here.
I
Much
know.
hotter and it gets
Yeah,
too hot.
It doesn't hardly
yeah.
get that hot here.
Mhm.
There's like a sweet spot. It's that way in where we live too. Like there's like a spot between it's too cold and it's too hot. So you kind of got to get the
Mhm.
window.
Yep,
oh yeah.
definitely.
So
You know, here it's always just it's too cold. It's like it's 60 out. You might as well go for it because it might not get any warmer for another month or 4 or 6 or 12.
Right. Good point. Point.
so uh I was gonna I was gonna say something and then we
Okay.
got on a rabbit trail. Um oh
Who,
well.
us, rabbit
What?
trails?
Yes.
What?
Realm Makers. For those who don't know, Lauren has been the MC at Realm Makers for several years now. So, like in your role there, have you picked up tips or tricks just like passively, not by going to classes or whatever, but just being around authors all weekend, and like what's been your experience with being an MC?
First of all, I love being an MC.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things to do is to encourage people. I talked about I guess the spiritual warfare behind the attacks of the you're a bad writer, you're
Yeah.
awful. So I feel like Realm Makers actually gives me an opportunity to kind of speak into people and just, when you see them kind of melting down in the corner or they're being overwhelmed, like I love that. Like, I love the personal side or relating to those authors who are away from their families or, just they're writing for the first time, they're attending their first conference or they're pitching. I have, I tell people, I'm like, hey, if you need someone to practice with, just pull me aside. So I do that quite a
Yeah.
bit. And I just have random conversations with people. I take, no, don't take pitches, but I allow people to practice pitches with me. So,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of interaction at Realm Makers, just with the author community as opposed to just being on stage. But being on stage allows me to just kind of put myself out there and just say, hey, I'm available. I want to be a
Yeah.
consistent face for you. I know that there's so many people working behind the scenes at Realm Makers that aren't on the stage that nobody ever sees. And man, I wish people could, because it definitely takes an army to
Mhm.
really awesome army to make Realm Makers move. But, for me, just being there again, I just want to be somebody consistent. And, I'm like, if I don't have the answer, I can be the one to help you find the answer. And so, yes, that's sort of, I think, my place in the Realm Maker world. And I'm really, really thankful for it.
And a tip for anybody who wants to be an MC: mute your cell phone.
Wow, we're going to bring that one up, aren't we?
I have
Aaron.
to.
No,
And
it's
half the
totally going to be
audience right
one of
now is
those, like,
what?
okay, I know. And it's kind of like whenever I make a joke about it at Realm Makers, you can always tell the people that have been with us for a long time because they're always like, hee, we were there, remember? So quickly, I would carry my cell phone around in case someone on our amazing Realm Maker team needed me. And like, if I'm getting ready to go up on stage, they could text me really quickly and I could just check it. Well, I typically turn my phone off, but during the award ceremony, I did not turn my phone off. So I'm up on stage in my pretty little dress, and my husband calls me as I'm about to announce an award for Tosca Lee. So, yeah, of all people, too. And
Oh, that's
honestly, a lot of people
hilarious.
may not know this, but we were actually having a glitch in our screen at the time. So, like,
Oh,
there was an issue going on where we couldn't get something to play. So, the timing was kind of impeccable. And it just so happened to be my husband on the phone. And my husband, he's just so amazing, so supportive. And I didn't know what to do. I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, what do I do with this random call that's coming in? And so I just answered it on stage and let him talk to
yep.
everybody. And
It was great.
it just made
Yes.
complete sense at the time. And so, yeah. And my husband and Scott Miner are friends, Scott and Becky and Brown Makers. And so I just kind of let him talk to Scott too. And they had a little bit of a banter and it was fun. And yeah.
Stall for
And
time. Yeah.
I know. So now when people are like, you're doing one of those Q&As and people are like, all right, what was your most embarrassing moment? I can be like, okay, let me tell you about this time when I was doing my job and my phone rang on stage in front of like 300, 400 people. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. So
See, I
so
mean,
silence your
now,
cell phones.
yeah,
yeah.
my daughter does Scholars Bowl, and she was at the state meet last weekend, and she was telling me, "Mom, you need to turn off your cell phone because if they even hear it buzz, they will like scoot you out of the room."
Yep.
So it's like she literally wanted me to turn it off, like full shutdown, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I had to figure out because I keep it on silent mode anyway, but it can still ring through if it's like Josh or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got
And
that with my kiddos.
yeah, and it's
Yep.
like, okay, how do I actually shut this down where I can still get texts and see that somebody's called?
See,
Yes, I finally
that's the default
invested in
state
like,
for
I have a
mine.
smart watch.
hmm
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
I had to
So,
figure out how to turn off my smartwatch too because yeah,
mm,
yeah. I was like, okay, don't need to get kicked out of the Scholars Bowl meet.
oh,
Yeah.
So, do you have a question, Aaron? Mm.
Oh, probably.
We have a list of them to prompt us.
Oh, we've covered that. We've covered that. Oh, hey, here's a fun one. Do you hear from your
ooh, okay.
readers much, and what kind of things do they say?
Oh, yes, I do. So, in a lot of different ways. Because I have younger readers, like I will get a fan mail, I'll get pictures. I have actually just created on my website like a little art gallery, and so I've been every
Aw.
so often going back
Awesome.
and scanning art. But I also have other things that they made, especially when I was teaching in our homeschool co-op. My students that were reading the books were making me think. I mean, I had bracelets and necklaces and cell phone covers. I mean, they were making me everything. And even still, I'll get pictures in the mail. I have a teacher in North Carolina that teaches my first book, and she has her students write me letters every year. And so they write
Aw.
me letters, they ask me
That's neat.
questions,
Wow.
and then I respond to every single one of them. Like, that's my favorite thing. I was actually talking to an author several months ago who he's very accomplished, New York Times. He was telling me about his new um, system of selling books and how well he was doing. I'm like, I'm selling this many thousands of books a month. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah. And then obviously I was not able to compare with that, but I was like, yeah, it's like, he was like, well, how are you? I'm like, I'm great. I just got this stack of letters in the mail. And he was like, wait, you hear from your readers? And I was like, yeah, I do. I was like, the moms will send me stuff that their kiddos are reading, or they'll email me, and I get these. And he was just baffled that I was actually hearing from my readers. So it was kind of in one of those cool author moments where I was like, all right, I would rather receive, I don't know, 20 letters as opposed to from this class, as opposed to 1,000 books a month. Like,
Oh yeah.
it was a really cool
Or
moment.
both would be really great, but yeah.
Okay, I will take that too. Yeah. But it was just really, really encouraging, because that's a part of like writing that I really, really love. And that I love about writing for middle graders is because they do, like, you're still cool. Like, they want to communicate with
Yeah.
you. They want to ask you questions. And, with the adult books, it's different. I don't hear from my readers as much because my first book for grown-ups, The Death of Mungo Blackwell, while it is magical realism, it's quirky, small town, cozy, all that, it's also very personal. I kind of rewrote in a very fictional way our story, like mine and my husband's story of going through financial loss in 2008 and what that looked like. And so there's a lot of,
Oh,
it's
that was
very
horrible.
personal. So oh yeah, it was really tough. So I will hear occasionally, not very often, but occasionally, from other women that are like, we're going through this right now. And like, your book just kind of brought joy in the darkness. And so occasionally I'll get those, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have to pick that one up because I understand. I went through bankruptcy back in the financial crisis back
Yeah,
in 07,
2008
8.
was not a
So
good year for me either. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Ugh.
So, well, it made for a great book.
Yeah.
My
I guess
favorite, actually,
I
of
guess that's a
everything I've
lesson
ever
we can
written.
take. Yeah, that's
It's,
a lesson we can
Yeah.
take, Aaron.
it's kind of interesting though. Some people will kind of dive into their own experience and go that. And my experience is, screw that. Let's go to space where nobody's poor. Yay!
Yeah. You know, to jump back in this, or jump in the slightly back machine, I'm looking on your website at the Hall of Artists, and it's like, okay, that's just really cool.
Thank
For
you.
our listeners, um, go to laurenhbrandenburg.com to the gallery, and it's just really sweet to look through, this, art, and like you had said, the bracelets and stuff, um, just being there from your readers. So yeah, that's
And
awesome.
that'll be linked in our show notes, at least to the website, and then you can
Somewhere there. Yeah.
find the Hall of Art from there. So
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, so
I love my
um,
readers.
as you should.
that's awesome to
Hmm.
hear. So for the writers among us who are trying to get their books published, what would you recommend? First steps, next steps when you're trying to get your first couple books out.
Yeah. So, I actually mentor a lot of writers. Like, I have
Mhm.
people that are saying, I want to write a book, or I want to publish a book. What do I do? And so, to go way, way back, and I know this is not where you all are, but I
Mhm.
usually tell people, I'm like, well, just write the book. Like, they're like, I
Mhm.
have an idea. And I'm like, okay, write it. Just write
Mhm.
that book. And I'm like, then let's talk about going through the editing process. And then let's
Mhm.
talk about how you want it published. Like, do you want to run your own business? Are you willing to do like a hefty load of marketing? Then we can talk about indie publishing, and like, what is, do you like talking to people? Do you like being in front of your readers? Are you great at social media? I don't think that you have to do them all, but like, then let's talk indie. But then, like, are you going to need a little bit more? Like, do you need to be driven? Like, do you need to be on deadlines and not your own deadlines? My husband sometimes will be like, sweetheart, you make your own deadlines. Like, you like, I'm like, oh, I'm on a deadline. He's like, but are you, like, cause yeah, you're your own. So I'm like, oh yeah, probably not. I can move that a couple months if I want to. But So yeah, so kind of like I help writers, like I'll say, where do you want to be? What is your end goal? Like, are you just wanting to get the book out there for your family members? Are you wanting to take it to the next level? Are you wanting to enter it in competition? So I think it's a lot of sitting down and figuring out where you are. And like for me, like different books have different goals. Like my middle grade, I definitely have one market. My grown-ups, I have another market. And for those that don't know, my middle grades are indie published. I have my own publishing company, and then my books for grown-ups are published with a publisher in the UK. So, but I have two different audiences, two different publishers, and pros and cons of both. So again, I think that would be like, it's just kind of answering that question is,
Mhm.
what is your goals? And then just go for it. Like, don't hold back. Like,
Mhm.
I think kind of overcoming that fear of what if it doesn't is so not a good idea. Because even though that book that I published so poorly in the beginning, and I have like major regrets about it, if I didn't do that, I would not be where I am today. So I had to at least, you have to jump in. I mentioned traveling. I was in Montana not too long ago and fly fishing
Huh?
in like -degree weather, but I loved it. It was great. I
Ugh.
have a new hobby now. But one of the things that I really kind of was feeling in that was that you just have to take the step. Like, even if you know it's going to be cold, even if you know it's going to be hard, even if you know it's going to be frustrating, you have to take that step and then see what happens next. And then maybe,
Mhm.
maybe you'll hook a fish, or maybe you'll just learn a whole lot. So do it.
Yep.
That's
Does that answer the
wow.
question?
I think that does. So, you've been indie and traditionally published. How do you find that process is different? How do you find that it's the same?
um, the same, and you're going to work hard. Either
Mhm.
way, it's a lot of hard work. Definitely marketing. With traditional publishing, they told me a lot of what to do. They were like, okay, we've created some memes for you. Can you post this? And they constantly had me writing articles for magazines. They had
Mhm.
me, there was still a lot of bloggers in the UK. So I was constantly writing blog posts for them, doing like guest blogging and that kind of thing. But they were telling me, whereas here, I'm finding my own things to do. Or when lovely
Mhm.
people reach out to me and ask me to be a part of their show, I'll do it. So, yeah, so that's part is marketing. I still was doing the work.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think what else to answer your question. Like I said, deadlines. I loved the deadlines of my traditional publisher. I loved it's got to be done by this date. You need to do it this time. Like I loved that. But and with my own deadlines with my indie world, it's way too flexible sometimes. Like I need a little
Mhm.
bit more somebody to
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a feeling I'd be watching the deadline to bowl past in either situation for myself.
uh, so a random question. Um,
Okay.
yes. Um, if you had to choose three authors to sit down with for a monthly lunch, who
Mm.
would you choose?
Do they have to be alive?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So one of my most favorite authors is Roald Dahl. I love Roald Dahl. I actually read a lot of Roald Dahl when I'm writing for grown-ups because I love the rhythm of his voice. I love how Roald Dahl literally makes me laugh out loud. And so like I love Roald Dahl. Like I would love to pick his brain. And he has such a fascinating story. I mean, just if you know anything about him, like he wasn't just a children's writer. He has some pretty shady stuff out there as well. I don't care about that.
Oh
But
yes.
he was like a World War II fighter pilot. Like he just has some he's just I would love to hear his story and his writing process and his ideas. Okay, so that's one. And then two, oh, it's so like cliche, but I would love to sit down with J.K. Rowling. I just would like and have a conversation about writing and her story building. And I don't care about her politics and all that. Don't want to know that. I just want to know like that part of her, like the delight. I did a Harry Potter tour in the UK where they
Oh.
actually took us to different places, like where um the different parts of the set were inspired. And that
Oh, that'd
was
be
really
neat.
Oh.
like yeah, it was really different. Like it wasn't your typical tour, but it was like, well, most likely, J.K. Rowling walked down this street, or she sat here, and like these are the things she saw, and so that's kind of what I would like to talk to her about. And then third, hmm, maybe somebody like Madeline Langle. Like I'm pretty fascinated with her too. So
Yeah,
she's just a great storyteller, a deep
is.
thinker.
Mhm. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Those are all unique choices.
Yeah, ones that we haven't heard actually.
Oh,
Yeah. I think we've probably gotten Madeline before, but definitely not
But
Doll. So
yeah.
I just love him. I actually like Kate DiCamillo too. I don't know if you follow her. She's a children's writer as well, and
Yep.
she
I think
wrote,
I've heard of
yeah,
her. So
yeah,
Despero.
like yes, Despero. Yeah, she's a neat writer. I love that she is like so not on social media very much. So I'm like, ooh, I want to be like her.
yeah. Aaron, you want to take the last question? Mhm.
Sure. Do we have any thing that we haven't covered yet? Let's see.
We're so professional.
Oh yeah,
I love
totally.
it.
There's just so much we could talk about.
I know. We could probably go for 2 hours. I swear.
Oh,
So.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
some we haven't touched on yet. What's I'm a professional. I can talk English.
good because I'm
Oh,
not very good.
what kind of music do you like to listen to, if any, while you're writing or creating?
Oh, I love soundtracks. So I love like with the books of Lewis, I listen to a lot of Last Mohicans. Like I love the Last Mohican soundtrack. I have since I was like
Nice.
little. I used to have it on a cassette.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
That's
and
an answer we
so
haven't
it just
not gotten
fits
before, but
with
it's a
Lewis.
good
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
I'm full of surprises. With Orlo, I actually listened to because it was very steampunk. The Sherlock Holmes, like the new Sherlock Holmes movies. I listened to that soundtrack.
Nice.
With
those are good.
Boone, okay, this is like way out there. With Boone, though, it wasn't soundtracks. It was more like that Mumford and Sons, like kind of folksy and like a
Yeah.
little bluegrassy because
Hmm.
Boone takes place in Kentucky. Like that's where it starts, and then it goes into the caves below Kentucky. So yes, I just kind of had that feel with it. So yeah, I always go to soundtracks. I
Well,
mean,
for
I
Boone, you
when
gotta
I'm
go back to the old Fest Parker soundtrack.
oh, I don't know
Ooh.
that one, but I
The
will find it.
the Davy Crockett TV show from
Yes,
Disney from
yes,
way back in the 80s.
Yep.
yes.
Oh, very cool. So, yeah, I've been listening to a lot of soundtracks when I've been writing too. So I have a big
Yeah,
playlist. So a lot of
Yep.
video games
yeah.
are actually really good too. So
Yeah.
Yes, when I taught, we used video game soundtracks, like just to
mhm,
kind of have ambient music in the background.
mhm.
Oh,
Yep,
so great.
yep. So Lauren, where can our reader or our listeners, I'm sorry, your readers, our listeners, go to find out more about you and your books?
I would say I mainly hang out on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram,
Okay.
or my website, which we mentioned before, laurenhbrandenburg.com. There's all kinds of fun info about me and my writing and the
Okay.
art gallery,
Okay. And you're on Instagram and all those fun places?
Facebook, all the places. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll have a link to your website in the show
Thank you.
notes, and everybody can go there to find out more. And I'm assuming all your links for social media are there too. So
Yes, everything is there.
perfect. So, well, thank you so much for coming on today,
You're
Lauren.
welcome.
I feel like we could probably sit here and chit chat for a couple more
Aw.
hours.
Probably,
So
yeah.
We'll
Okay.
just have to do it again sometime.
we will. Next time you have a book coming out, let us know, and we'd love to have you
I
back
will, for
on.
sure.
So,
That
Yeah.
would be great.
so
It's been really fun to see you all.
yeah, yeah.
We'll talk about your YA that you have percolating.
Yes, hopefully I will. Yes.
Our
Uh,
writers' brains, they never stop working, do
Mhm.
they?
I know.
Not ever.
No.
Um,
No.
so coming up next,
Mhm.
not today, but coming up uh, in the near future, we have Tosca Lee
Ooh.
Ooh.
next month. Yes, she's great. Wade Thomas Batson
Ooh.
to talk about his lit RPG novels. Um, and a somebody completely new to us, Josh Mendoza, to talk about his paranormal noir.
So that's coming up. I think those are all scheduled through May right now. Is that right?
Yep.
Sounds right. Good.
So we're still filling out our calendar a little bit for the next few months, but we're working on it. So, does anybody have any announcements that we need to make?
Buy my
Aaron's
books.
AaronDemott.com, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So, and then all of my stuff is on Amazon. Hopefully, in the next month or so, we'll have an announcement about Josh's and my Kickstarter, which we'll probably be doing in the summer. So, we just got the first and second drafts of our cover for our upcoming book, and it looks amazing, and I'm so excited. So,
yeah, that's a good one. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. So we'll look forward to that. And yeah, everybody, you guys have a great rest of your day. Podcast will be out when this goes live, and then we'll see everybody next month. So
See
Thank you
everybody
so
later.
much.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye.